As the 2023-24 season unfolds, our preseason predictions have been tossed aside like yesterday's news. The script we wrote in our minds has been crumpled up and the game has taken on a life of its own. Some clubs, once hailed as giants, are now sinking faster than a lead balloon, while the underdogs are rewriting the narrative with jaw-dropping victories. So today, we're diving deep into the heart of the action, exploring the most surprising and disappointing teams of this season. Trust me, this will be the breakdown you won't find in the stats or headlines. And make sure to stay until the end, because there will be some controversial takes that I can't wait to hear your opinion about. So without further ado, let's get right to it. At number 10, Manchester United. At this point, it's just sad. A club that was once the most feared in Europe, now a team who can keep a 2-goal lead against Copenhagen. Worse, a team who can barely win against Luton Town. It's not like their league position at the moment is catastrophic, but it seems like the club as a whole is in a massive downward spiral that never seems to end. The players have no confidence, the manager has very little control over the locker room, and the same applies to his interventions during matches. Besides, who's to blame for the transfer flops we've seen in the last 2 seasons? It's the owner's fault, because everything ultimately depends on them, but the players, infrastructures, and perhaps most importantly the manager are not on par with Man United standards. Unless something massive happens, I can see the Red Devils aim higher than Conference League qualification. Number 9, Girona. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I highly doubt that Girona will repeat what Leicester did in 2016. In fact, if you're watching this video just a few weeks after I've posted it, I can almost guarantee that Girona aren't leaders anymore. But I think it's a good thing that they aren't like Leicester. Unlike the Foxes, Girona have a stable and sustained project under the leadership of the City Football Group. Plus, they didn't come out of nowhere, as last year they were very close to European qualification. So, even if they don't win the league, or even if they fail to qualify to the Champions League, I think the club's management has been perfect, and if they continue to develop their squad like they did this summer, with the rivals like Herrera and Dovbyk, Girona have everything it takes to become a serious title contender in the next couple of seasons. Number 8, Lyon. The fact that Lyon is in this video is absolutely terrible, since I already tipped them to struggle in the summer. Because you see, I thought they would hover around the relegation spots during their campaign, not that it would take them 12 matches to register a single win, and the only reason why they achieved it was because one of the opposing players had been sent off. In Lyon's defense, their finances are not looking good at the moment, but the way they operate is short-sighted to say the least. They have been selling their best produce for bargain fees just to make a quick profit instead of trying to keep them and sell them later for a higher profit. And to make it worse, they don't have a long-term vision in what comes to the players they bring in. Nowadays, most players they buy are simply unproven loanies from bigger clubs that will leave by the end of the season, no matter how good or bad they were. It's truly tragic, and another example of how incompetent John Textor is as a club owner. Number 7, Nice. Continuing on in French territory, this time we've got a team who's exceeding everyone's expectations. Nice have been regulars in Ligue 1 for over 20 years, but they haven't exactly posed any threat when it comes to winning the league. Well, this year, despite having lost several key players, Nice got off to a wonderful start, registering important victories against PSG, Marseille and Monaco. Perhaps even more impressive is their defensive record. With only 4 goals conceded in 12 matches, Nice have by far the best defense in Ligue 1, much thanks to wonderful performances by Jean-Claire Todibo and Marcin Bulka. I'm curious to see where they'll finish by the end of the season, and whether they'll be able to keep their promising manager Francisco Farioli, who's younger than several members of the squad. Number 6, Basel. If you started watching football during the 2000s, I can almost guarantee that the first team that comes to your mind when you think about Swiss football is FC Basel. It's completely understandable. After all, they dominated domestic football for almost 15 years while developing world-class talent at the same time. Their strategy of buying low and selling high worked for many years, but after several ownership changes, the club is in complete disarray. Basel is currently in last place, 9 points away from safety, and it's very likely that they'll end up facing relegation by the end of the season. It's an unfortunate situation that isn't being talked about as much, perhaps due to Ajax and Lyon's collapses in the same year. Number 5, PSV. I think it's fair to say that PSV have had the most dominating season start in all of Europe. The Dutch Giants have won 12 out of their 12 league matches, only conceding 5 goals in the process. In what comes to their attack, they're by far the best team as well, with 45 goals scored, averaging almost 4 goals per game. That of course is much due to the offensive prowess of former Barcelona striker Luc de Jong, who has been enjoying a marvelous comeback season, and alongside Joey Veerman, it feels like nobody can stop them. I'm curious to see what they can achieve in Europe, as they have shown some difficulty adapting their style to the tougher European opponents, but I still think they can at least aim for a comeback to the round of 16. Number 4. Benfica. I know Benfica currently lead the Portuguese league, but don't let the table fool you. Benfica have been a massive letdown ever since they sold Enzo Fernandes. Last year, they had a huge advantage over second place Porto, but were only crowned champions in the last matchday and wasted their best chance at reaching another Champions League final. This year, even though they invested more than any Portuguese team from the past, many of the summer signings looked like complete miscasts. Neither Musa nor Artur Cabral play well enough to be Benfica's number 9, and their fullbacks are also playing at a subpar level. With that in mind, their last place with 0 wins in the Champions League group stage doesn't seem that shocking, does it? I know this may sound extremely controversial to many Benfica fans, but Roger Schmidt's work has been extremely overrated. He got lucky that Benfica signed Enzo Fernandes, and from the moment they lost him, his signings and changes in the starting 11 have completely backfired. Sure, they beat Sporting to conquer the lead, but the Lions dominated most of the match and Benfica got extremely lucky with 2 late stoppage time goals. Unless João Neves continues to evolve and carries his team to glory like Felix or Sanchez did in the past, I just can't see this Benfica squad winning the league. Number 3. Aston Villa. The Villains are rocking in the Premier League and could have a season that kickstarts another historic period for the club. They've made some smart moves in the market and their investment is certainly paying off, with Moussa Diaby being one of their best players so far. But we also have to pinpoint Ollie Watkins and Douglas Luiz, 2 players whose contributions are vital to Unai Emery's system. At this point, I see them as one of the front runners for the Conference League, but I'm not so sure they can qualify to the Champions League. The Villains will have a tough December with bouts against City, United and Arsenal, but if they can overcome these tough opponents, the sky is the limit for them. Number 2. Union Berlin. It really sucks to include Union here, considering the remarkable rise they went through. Ever since they got promoted in 2019, Union consistently improved their league finish, finally reaching the Champions League this season. And if you look at the stats, they're not worse than what they were in the previous campaigns. But luck simply isn't on their side this time. You see, Union are one of those fun to watch teams who keep an open game until the end, but this season that has been extremely costly, since they've lost many points in the dying minutes of the game, both in the UCL and Bundesliga. Plus, the fact that some of their signings have been extremely underwhelming leads me to think that Union Berlin will have a tough time this season. They're currently sitting dead last in the league, but I believe they can still turn things around. Number 1. Bayer Leverkusen. It's hard to explain to you guys, but I really believe we're about to witness something special in the Bundesliga. Xabi Alonso's work at Leverkusen cannot be understated. He picked up a struggling side over in the relegation spots amidst a terrible Champions League campaign, but managed to still get that 3rd place spot over Atletico Madrid, and by the end of the season the club somehow finished in the European spots. But then again, he was met with another difficult task this season, replacing the key departures from the club. Ultimately, that was a blessing in disguise, as this season their replacements have been performing at an even higher level. Grimaldo with his stunning crosses, Boniface's sniper-like finishing, and Xhaka's experience have been a massive difference maker. If they continue playing at this level, I can see them avenging the infamous Leverkusen season of 2002 and finally ending Bayern's dominating grip in the Bundesliga. Can you imagine Harry Kane moving to Bayern and still remaining trophyless? This title race will be a battle of bottlers, and I surely ain't gonna miss it. And that is it for the video. I know that you might disagree with some of my takes, so make sure you leave your own opinion in the comments and hopefully we can start the discussion. Leave a like so that YouTube knows you want to watch more content like this, and subscribe to never miss the most interesting football discussions, stories and top 10 lists. Thank you for watching until the end, I appreciate you, and I will see you soon.